The Alpha and Omega, the first and last, action and reaction. These are interesting laws of the mind that we should try to grasp, because once we do, we actually hold a key in our hands in which we can open many doors, or through which we can do that. Now, how can I do that? First of all, stuff like this takes enormous trust in one's own consciousness, that it will work for you and not against you, that your own mind becomes your own friend instead of your own worst enemy. Because many times when we face negativity, it's always experienced within the mind itself. Circumstances may happen that are negative and we observe them, but the actual experience of the negativity itself happens within ourselves on an emotional and mental level. That's why we have to grasp the Alpha and Omega concepts of the mind, meaning what is the state of mind from which I'm operating, because that will determine many aspects of my physical reality. If I can grasp this chain of events compared to the other way around, where I let the outside world control my mind, I can start working with my own mind by creating new ideas and concepts on which I can act. Now, this is the difficult part, as I said, because it takes trust in oneself, in one's own abilities to overcome, outgrow, improve whatever you're facing in your own world in this moment of time. Sadly, many people don't have that sort of confidence in themselves. That's why they also don't start something for themselves. It's easier to work for someone else. It's easier to have somebody else do your thinking for you instead of you exercising your own mind. But if we're going to work with the action and reaction aspects of our own consciousness, we're going to have to learn to work with it no matter what. Now, this is how I learned to work with it, and I'm still learning to work with it. If there's some area in my life that I want to improve, I know I have to go inside my own consciousness in order to improve it physically. I don't look at my physical world and wonder how can I get others or certain situations to change so that my life improves, because that is a losing battle. Then you're always dependent on people outside of yourself, but you want to become dependent on yourself. So we start with the Alpha and Omega concept right here, right now. You look at your own life and you take a certain area of your life that you want to improve, and you learn to build the concept of what that improvement would mean inside your own mind first. This is a tricky part. This is also difficult to explain to people at first, because it doesn't really make a lot of sense for many people. The idea that they can improve their bank account by simply imagining wealth doesn't make a lot of sense at first glance, because we're not trained to live like that. But here's the thing, if you can see wealth, for example, inside your own consciousness, the more clearer you make that concept inside your mind, the clearer you can actually see what you would be doing if you were wealthy, what sort of activities you would be involved in, what sort of business you would be running. The clearer you get that inside your own consciousness, the easier it will become to act on those new ideas that you've built inside your mind first and foremost. And then it doesn't take a smart person to realize if you start acting on these new ideas, stuff starts to change around in your physical world. This is the secret of your own consciousness, is that you can see whatever you want in there. But it doesn't mean that you will go there and try to see it there and experience it within yourself. No, again, for most people, they look at their bank account, they don't see a lot of money, for example, and they have no idea how to improve it. They don't have the ideas that can help them improve that sort of aspect of their lives. But here's the thing, the idea develops over a certain amount of time. It's not like you instantly have the right idea. Usually we have to work with a vague concept, and we try to improve that concept by deep and specific contemplation on what we're after. The only thing you really have to do in life is know what you want and keep your mind focused on creating your reality according to what you want, without any interference from the outside world or from other people. There will be people who will either support you or will be in your way. There's people who are going to tell you you can do this, and there's people who tell you you can't do it. In both cases, it's a trap to be influenced by both sides, because on one hand you become dependent on having people praise you, On the other hand, you become influenced by people condemning what you're trying to do. It doesn't help. It does not help you at all. What does help is if you can believe in yourself with such intensity that the only thing you really need is your own approval for what you're about to do in your life, for what you're about to change and improve, so that you can enjoy your life in a better way. So this is where the action, reaction, alpha, omega start and finish happen. The alpha side of your goal happens inside your own mind, so to speak. The omega side symbolically is the expression, the manifestation of that goal into a physical reality. Now that is what I do for my own goals. I first see it in my own mind's eye. And if I don't have a clear idea, I don't worry about it. I just wait a little bit, perhaps a few days, weeks, months. It actually doesn't matter. I know the more focused I am, the faster results start to happen, or at least the clearer the idea becomes in my mind, so I know exactly how I should start to act in this physical world in order to make my reality shift according to what I desire. This is how it starts. It starts within yourself. Now, where do you start? Ask yourself that simple question. Where do I start in life when I want to improve something? Or do I not start at all? This is a sad reality for most people, is that because life might not be to their liking, they also don't consider the question, could I change it? Simply because in the moment of that question, in that asking, in that moment right there, they don't have the answer on how to improve their lives, so they give up instantly. They don't want to push it further than that because they don't understand how to change it to begin with. Because of this error on our part, we're also unable to expand our minds in the proper way, so we might find the way out of the situation in the first place. This is what your mind can do. It can expand and contract. When a mind contracts, you feel bad, but when it expands, when you become aware of new and better ideas on which you can act, and you can sense this would improve my life, even though perhaps only slightly, it feels great, it feels fascinating, it gets you going, you really want to work on it. If this is lacking, if this expansion is lacking within your mind, then we're in trouble. Now, how do you expand the mind? It's very, very simple, but not necessarily easy. The way to expand your own consciousness is by contemplating things way beyond where you're currently at. You would have to dare to contemplate the idea of living an improved life in such a way that it would be almost a change like night and day. You go so far beyond where you're currently at mentally that you then have to catch up physically with where you are mentally. That is the metaphysical trick here that we're trying to do. So we're going to place ourselves where we want. We work, so to speak, with a prototype, you could say. Having the idea of what you want to create for yourself, how you want your reality to be, is like a prototype inside your own mind. But then you want to create it a reality. Well, this depends on your actions. This needs a certain form of actions, either from your part or other people's parts. Something has to happen on the physical side of life to give expression to the mental concept that is inside your mind. But again, the only way to physically act on anything is to have a clear idea mentally of where you're going. That is what we're getting at here with these ideas. Is if you know where you want to go in your life, if it's for money, career, entrepreneur, and relationships, again, it doesn't matter. But I'm gonna keep stressing this point from many angles because people really need to hear it many times before it starts to stick with them. It's like every time during your day, where are you living mentally? Are you constantly living in reaction to what's happening outside of yourself? Are you constantly seeking distractions from yourself, from your own mind? Meaning watching television, playing games or whatever, without ever stopping and wondering to yourself, where am I actually going with life? Where is this actually going? I mean, that's where most people don't really function. They're not doing that at all. They're just so hypnotized by the physical world that they're unable to see where they're going. But I'm telling you right now, if you have a clear idea inside your consciousness of where you're going, you will have it. Whether it happens in this lifetime or not doesn't matter. Let me stress that over and over and over again, because it's usually that sort of fear of missing out, that fear of not having enough time, that fear of perhaps being too old, that stops people as well from actually going for what they want. But if you know you're an immortal being, your consciousness does not die at all, your spirit lives on, then you realize, okay, even if I drop in this life, well, then I awaken in a new world. I awaken in a different world, in a different dimension of my being, still having the opportunity to pursue whatsoever I desire. Because the goal here, from a universal perspective, is to help you become an actual conscious creator of your own life for your own reality. But in order to do that, you have to exercise your own conscious mind by expanding it, by literally taking it serious. If I can see within my mind whatsoever I want, if I can see it there, and the clearer I see it, like I see physical reality, the easier it becomes to take action upon these mental concepts, upon these prototypes of the mind, so that then reality starts to change around, and you will notice that your friends and family and everybody else starts to see different versions of yourself. That's the only way to put it. You become a better version of yourself by constantly reaching out for better and better results that you could create for yourself. Because all of these results depend on the way you act. And your actions are part of how you are made up from the inside, from the mental realms and the emotional realms. So if you keep expanding yourself in a better direction, working with the first cause of life, which is the world of the mental concepts, that's the first cause. The first cause in life is mental by nature. But we work with secondary causation. We look at the physical world and try to find our answers there, but we can't always find them there. But once we go inside our own minds and wonder, is my behavior a reflection of how I'm thinking and feeling? Well, you'll discover it's true. It is a reaction to how you're thinking and feeling. So the better you think, the better the thoughts are, the better you feel, well, the better your actions will become. And the better the actions are, the better the results ultimately will be for you in your life. Sadly, again, many of us aren't raised like this, and now we have to learn the hard way as adults to do it. At least if we're willing and able to use our minds. Again, not everybody is even willing to take this sort of responsibility over their own consciousness. Yet I can only guarantee them, if they would discover a whole new world open up to them, literally. Not just physically, but mentally as well. And you learn so much more about what you are and who you are, and how you can make the most of yourself. Because ultimately, that is the only enjoyment you can get out of life, is to make the most of yourself. And in order to do that, you have to understand the concept of action and reaction. You have to understand the alpha and omega of your mind. First, you work with a mental concept, which is the prototype. And then you give expression to that concept through your actions in the physical world, and that causes an effect to take place. So you have the cause, which is in the mind, the effect being the physical results that you get. Really think about this in your own way. Contemplate what this means for your own life and could mean for the future that you still have left, and how you could make your future even greater than it already is, simply by learning how to work with the first cause, meaning with your own mind. And then watch what happens over time. You will be able to achieve more and more of your own goals. Certain goals that I had seemed unrealistic at first, but again, I built the concept in my own mind, and then I did it, and I made it happen. Other people at first thought it was stupid, it was fake, or was impossible for me, but yet it still happened. And then they said, well, that's amazing, I knew you could do it. All these silly games we play with ourselves. Well, this can be the same for you. You can have goals, others may think it's impossible for you, but if you know how to work with your own mind and with the first cause, which is simply working with your own consciousness, then results must change, and people will eventually see that you are definitely not someone that is unable to achieve whatsoever they said they would achieve. So take it to heart. I hope you do. That's all I have to say for this video. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you later.